have said we have three reagents or three components of fire. And the three components we have said it is oxygen, heat, and fuel, right? If you want to put out any fire, still you have to eliminate either of the three. For example, if we are going to eliminate oxygen, we have said that is not starvation, but smothering. Smothering the fire is simply cutting the oxygen supply in the fire. How do we cut the oxygen supply? You cover the fire with what we call a kitchen blanket or a fire blanket. A fire blanket is not a normal blanket. Do you have a kitchen person here? Do you have a kitchen either?
Yeah.
You have a kitchen blanket? Probably. Yes, whoever supplies you with these fire extinguishers must bring you a kitchen blanket. But nevertheless, a fire blanket is a designed type of a blanket, not really a blanket per se, but a fabric that does not burn easily. It looks like a cloth made of what we call asbestos. Asbestos is a material that cannot burn easily. Therefore, when a fire is started, especially in the kitchen, maybe the cooking pot or the frying pans, you simply cover the fire with the blanket. How do you cover the fire? Always remember a fire has flames. Therefore, you are supposed to cover the fire away from you. You waft the fire away. When you are making your bed, you start by throwing the blanket, then you cover. Yes. But in this case, you cover from your end. Slowly you cover the top of the fire. By doing that, you cut the oxygen supply to the fire and you suppress the fire because you have denied it oxygen that should support the fire to grow, right? The other thing you should not forget, when we eliminate the fuel, we are simply starving the fire. Starvation, say starvation.
Starvation.
Starvation is simply denying food. But in this case, we deny the fire the fuel to continue burning. That is also another way of fire extinguishing. We can also extinguish a fire by doing what we call cooling. In most cases, from your home setups and backgrounds, we have used firewood to cook, we have used charcoal to cook, and when you want to reuse it tomorrow, you do what? You pour water on it or sprinkle water on it, then it goes off. That is just the formula of what we call cooling. Say cooling.
Cooling.
Cooling is simply lowering the temperatures instantly. When we use the fire extinguisher of CO2 type, you realize CO2 is a gas. It does not support combustion per se, but it has some levels of oxygen. There are some fires that CO2 is able to put out comfortably. But there are some other fires CO2 will put out, then after some few seconds, the fire ignites. Why does the fire ignite? When you are using CO2, you realize it comes out also in form of ice. It produces a cooling effect. That cooling effect is what suppresses the fire instantly, and the fire goes off. Then after some time, the fire reignites again. All right? Are we together?
Yes.
Good. So we have three methods of fighting or extinguishing a fire. One is cooling the fire, smothering the fire by cutting oxygen supply, and starvation. That is physically removing the fuel. When you are cooking ugali, you simply lower the flame of the gas, right? Or if you are using charcoal, you remove or you put at least little charcoal. Okay? If you use too much of the heat, it means the food will not be ready. It will just get bad. Let's talk about classification of fires. And for that matter, we have 5 classes of fire. Say class A. Class A, say class A. Class A fires are from combustible solids. Combustible solids are things like the clothes you are wearing, the paper you are writing on, firewood, cartons, your hair, anything that can burn and leave a residue. Keyword there is anything when it burns, it leaves a residue. When you burn a paper, what does it leave? Papers. What does they leave? What do they leave? When you burn firewood, what do they leave? Yes. Don't papers also leave ash? They do. And why are you not saying the same? So when you burn papers also, they leave what? A residue in form of ash. These plastics, when they burn, they also leave a residue. Right? So at the end of the day, class A fires are from combustible solids that when they burn, they leave a residue. Then class B fires. This involves combustible liquids and gases. A good example, talk about thinner, surgical spirits, talk about petrol, gasoline, talk about diesel, and many others. When they burn, they don't leave any residue. Have you seen petrol burning? If you pour petrol here, even on the floor, it will burn. Will it leave anything? After some time, are you able to know whether it was burning there? Good. Because petrol does not leave any residue. Then we have class C fires. These are fires from energized electrical wiring or equipments, such as motors, computers, panel boxes, etc. And you are also informed, in case of such fires, what you need to do first is to disconnect the fire from electrical current. And the moment you disconnect the fire from electrical current, it means that fire changes from that type of fire to any other type of fire. Therefore, it means what? The fire changes from being type C fire to either type A, type B, type D, or F or K. Are we together? For example, assuming this house is on fire, there is electricity. He comes, the first thing he switches the main switch. Or him comes and he doesn't know what to do first. He gets the fire extinguisher, starts fighting the fire. Who is going to win the fight, to fight the fire faster? The one who has already switched off the main meter, right? Why? The moment you don't switch off the main power supply, it means the fire is energized. When you use water to fight such a fire, you will now be adding what we call an electrical hazard, which could be electrical shock. Such a fire, you should not use water to fight it. Therefore, the first thing, we disconnect the power supply and the fire converts from being a type B, or type C fire, to any other type of fire. Then we have type D. Type D are fires from what we call exotic metals. Exotic metals are things like magnesium, sodium, potassium, titanium, etc. These are reactive metals. In high school, you learned that such metals, once they react with some other metals, they do what? They produce, once they react with some acids, they produce what we call a pop sound. That pop sound is like an explosion. It is a spark that is formed from that chemical reaction. All right? So, type D fires, when you go to factories that are handling metals or exotic metals, they have better ways, or they have already been trained on how to handle such fires. Then the last type of fire is type K. Type K involves vegetable oils and animal fats. All of us use cooking oil. All of us have eaten fried things like chapati, mandazi. And at some point, we see the pan can catch fire when especially the cooking oil spills to the flames, right? What should happen when that occurs? Now that is where we need to understand what we should do. And for that matter, a fire blanket is only used for kitchen purposes. And that's why it is always in the kitchen alone. You don't find fire blankets being installed anywhere. You will always find a fire blanket at the kitchen. Any question about classes of fire? Feel free. Good. If there is no question, the classes of fire also determines the type of fire extinguishers that we are also going to use. That brings us to portable first aid fire extinguishers. We have several types of fire extinguishers. For example, we have the water type fire extinguisher. We have the hose reel. I've seen you already have one here. We have carbon dioxide for class C electrical equipment. And we have dry powder, like I have seen you have already one here, that is used for classes A, B, C. And also we have what we call AFFF or air foam. This is for class B, that is flammable liquids and gases. And we have a fire blanket. And also we can use sand to put out fires. If you go to the petrol stations or the gas stations, you find there is always a bucket full of sand or with sand. You wonder what purpose it is for? Have you ever asked yourself? Yeah, I know you don't care. You go to petrol stations? Yes. Nice. At least it's nice that he goes. When you go, you find there is always sand on those metallic buckets. In case petrol spills on the floor, because it can happen, sometimes you say, fill my tank. Whoever is just refilling for you is not so concerned about what he's doing. Sometimes you find somebody is busy looking at other things. He realizes the tank is already full. Then petrol has spilled on the ground or diesel. What are they supposed to do? They should take that sand and pour on the floor. That means in case of a fire, it cannot grow because it has been already suppressed by covering by the sand. Initially, we had different types of fire extinguishers with different colors. When we talk of different colors, we mean the color codes. For example, nowadays, all the fire extinguishers are in red color, like this cylinder. But they have different color codes. For example, the color code for this powder is blue. If this fire extinguisher is having water, it will be white. If it is CO2, it will be color-coded black. If it is foam, it will be color-coded cream. Right? So the new training module depicts or wants us to know all fire extinguishers are in what colors? They are in red cylinder, but labeled in different color codes. The different color codes becomes a good way to determine exactly which fire extinguisher is, what type of a fire extinguisher is this, and also where and how we should use it. When we are handling the fire extinguisher, you need to know, for example, the characteristics. This is the handle, right? I know this is how we carry it, like this. But while you are carrying, the bottom lever is the one that you are holding. This one is just but supporting. You can even not hold it but still move the fire extinguisher. This is the squeezing lever. This is more of an handle. And this is the squeezing lever. This is a seal. Not so important. Whatever is important here is the seal. This is the seal, okay? You cannot use this fire extinguisher unless you remove the seal first. At the fire extinguisher, you have instructions here. Whether you have been trained on fire safety or not, you can still do